Welcome everyone to another session on current affairs by Civil 360 IAS Academy. So in this session, we will be discussing a recent news where the International Monetary Fund actually graded India's accounts and it actually gave a grade C for India's national accounts. Right. So this was actually part of the IMF bilateral annual discussions with its members, which is mandated under Article 6 of its document, foundational document. So accordingly, it conducts annual discussions with its members to discuss the quality of data, the base year of the data, the time with accuracy and the time, within how much time a particular data is being released, the quality of the overall data, about the agency. So basically the IMF looks into various factors which is known as the data quality framework, and it actually releases grades, right? And this system was actually established after 2024. So we will look into how IMF actually uses these criteria and what was the rating given to India and what is the significance of the rating also. Okay, so this was the news. C grade for India's National Account Statistics Annual Review by IMF. National Account Statistics simply means GDP data, right? GDP data. And GDP data is published by NSO National Statistics Office of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Right. So it's actually mandated under Article 6. So in every year, the IMF actually conducts this process. Before 2024, it actually had a different type of rating scale wherein it simply said whether a particular system is adequate or inadequate, like that. But after 2024, it is giving grades, right? A, B, C and D. So remember, IMF conducts these discussions annually. That is the first point. It is under Article 6 of the document. Then its objective is to ensure quality, availability and timeliness of these macroeconomic data. Effectively, these ratings are quite important because these are used by various agencies, various investors. So it can have impact on FDI, capital inflows, remittances, all those kind of things. Right. So the new ratings were established in 2024. That's also important. And here you can see the different categories and what they mean. A means that there is the data that this country has or it actually publishes is enough for surveillance. So if IMF is actually checking whether the data can be used. Surveillance as effectively means whether it can be used for further study, for further analysis. So A grade means it's good, we can use it for analysis. B, it's broadly adequate, some issues there, but broadly it's adequate. C means there are shortcomings. C, it's not good. D means there is serious shortcomings, right? So C rating is some shortcomings are there and somewhat hamper surveillance. Which means that economy is steady. Studying that economy becomes difficult. And D means there are serious shortcomings and significantly hamper the surveillance. And the assessment is the data quality assessment framework. Several criteria are there. It actually involves 2 layers of study by IMF, but it's quite a detailed exercise. But just know that certain criteria like accuracy, completeness, consistency, timeliness, validity, uniqueness. These are some of the criteria that IMF uses. So IMF recommended, so for India's case, what IMF did was that, they said that the base year for the national account, for the GDP data, they have to be revised. That is their primary issue with India's national accounts data. But for the other data that it actually gives out regarding the government expenses, private sector, all those kind of sectors and the data, they actually got B, grade B, right? So overall grade of India, remember it's B, right? Overall rating was B, but the GDP accounts data was actually got the C rating. Don't get confused because the headline says C rating. Whenever the last exam, don't assume that India's data quality is very poor, it got C rating. No, it is only the GDP data which actually got the C rating. The overall rating is B, right? Okay, so it was broadly adequate before 2024, that also remember. Before 2024, it was still at the B grade. So it actually, after the new grades were started, it actually still received overall B grade, right? Another issue that IMF was pointed out was using the wholesale price index to deflate the nominal GDP, right? Nominal is deflated using a inflation measure. So India uses wholesale price index. We do not use the producer price index. So India do not publish a producer price index. Okay, producer price index is not released by the government, which is used by most of the other countries to deflate nominal GDP to get the real GDP, right? Okay, so that also keep in mind. Okay, so this is just a table for you to take notes, or if you want to study it. Just whenever you study a particular index, you need to know who publishes it, what was the base year, and what actually its components are also being asked. So go further into it as well. So if you look at the CPI, consumer price index, different type of indices like that for industrial workers, for agricultural laborers, for rural laborers. So for all these workers and laborers, the data is released by the Ministry of Labor, okay, Labor Bureau of the Ministry of Labor, right? And the base year, if you look at that, it's 2016 for industrial workers. For the industrial workers, the base year is 2016. So the concept of base year is important. So basically base year is a particular year which we use as a reference point, right? So the value of a particular whatever you say, so CPI or GDP, whatever you say, at that reference point, at the base year, it is set at 100. Okay, it is set at 100, right? And every year after that, the measurement will be 110 or 120, okay, or 130. Okay, each year the value will be calculated in reference to this base year, right? So how much has increased, everything is actually calculated with the respective base year. And whenever you select a base year, it has to be a simple year, like it should not be a year with any extraordinary occurrences like COVID or any demonetization or some external shock. Okay, it should be a completely normal year, and the value of that particular variable in that particular year is set as 100, right? Set as 100, right? And according to that value, so for your for your clarity, say you are taking GDP, right? Okay, you are taking GDP, and say the base year. So currently we follow the base year of 2012, right? Okay. Okay, so we use that year, and say that is actually say the nominal or the value of GDP at that particular year, say it's 1 trillion, right? 1 trillion. Okay, 1 trillion, and this is 100. We set this value as 100, right? So the next year, like say it has become say 2 trillion, right? In 2013. Okay, in 2013, say it has become say 2 trillion, right? 2 trillion. So the value will be 200, right? 200. I hope you understand how the base year actually works. So base year is a reference point for us to understand how much a particular variable has actually grown and less. Okay, so if you take a particular base year that is long back, it does not make sense. Okay, because we have grown by say a particular huge with a reference to a base year of 2010. It does not make sense, right? Because it's obvious that you would have grown from 2010. Okay, so regularly updating the base year to the various recent years or the previous years are necessary to actually capture how much we are actually growing to the past. So I hope this base year concept is clear. So if you look here, Okay, so if you look here, okay, so CPI for industrial workers, the base year is 2016. It is published by the Labour Bureau. For agriculture laborers as well as the rural laborers, the base year is 2018. Sorry, 2019. It's published by Labour Bureau. But for the headline inflation that we see in news, okay, that is actually the consumer price index combined. Okay, rural, urban is there, and both of them will combine to form CPI combined, right? This is actually published by the National Statistical Office, okay, under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The base year is 2012. This is important, okay, 2012. And this is not used now regularly. It's actually for urban non-manual employees. The base year is 1984-85, published by NSO. Wholesale price index is quite important. Remember, the base year is 2011-2012, which essentially means this only. So it's actually the Office of Economic Advisor of the Department of Promotion of Industry of Internal Trade. Okay, so please keep that fact in mind. Then the Industry of Industrial Production, again 2011-2012, and the NSO. Okay, NSO publishes it. So here, just keep for your information, this is actually 2012 to 2013. Okay, so remember that. So remember this table, remember the base year, remember who is publishing. This is the base year as of now. Okay, this is going to be in news, for the next couple of months as well as next year, because the Ministry of Statistics is planning to revamp the base year. That also keep in mind. I will go into a little later. Okay, see, this is the GDP, right? So here, okay, so this is actually, okay, so there is a concept of nominal GDP and real GDP. Remember that nominal GDP is not actually impacted by the concept of base year, right? Because we calculate nominal GDP at the current prices, right? Current market prices. So it does not really make sense to base year to nominal GDP, right? It is real GDP which is actually calculated using the base year. And for this base year for real GDP is 2011-2012. 2011-2012. Okay, nominal GDP, it does not make sense to use base year because it actually uses the current market prices. Okay, it's calculated at the current market prices. Okay, so this is the issue, right? So the growth rate equation for any particular variable is the current year's value minus the base year divided by base year into 100, right? So if you use a base year that is far behind, it does not really capture the growth, right? Because if you take whatever value, GDP, inflation, most probably it's obvious that after a period of time it will grow. We need to know how much it has grown recently, right? We need the most latest information, right? So that is why IMF actually said, okay, using the 2011-2012 as your base, as your reference point does not really make sense, right? Okay, so this is the revision that is planned. It's going to be planned and implemented by 2026 February. The new GDP series will use 2022-2023 as the base year. Okay, remember that. Remember the base year of Index of Industrial Production as well as WPI, okay, Wholesale Price Index also will be revised to 22-23, and the Consumer Price Index will be 23-24. Okay, this applies to CPI combined, the headline inflation. Okay, for Labour Bureau they may follow after a while, I think, but this is all for the revisions conducted by NSO, right? Okay, the data published by NSO. For those kind of data, these will be the base year revisions will happen in the next coming months and the next year. Okay, and it was actually under the recommendation of an advisory committee on national account statistics headed by Bishwanath Goldar. This is also important because they can ask, right? Bishwanath Goldar committee is related to which of the following, and this is going to be in news, right? So please study it. Advisory Committee on National Accounts Statistics, that is the name of the committee, and it was headed by the Bishwanath Goldar. Okay, the upcoming 2026 revision will be the 8th base year revision. 8th base year revision, that is also important. Okay, so previous base year revision was actually planned in 2017, but it was actually dropped because of the various shocks that actually happened, demonetization, introduction of GST, and also there was some issue with the quality of PLFS data, household consumption expenditure data. So it was actually dropped. Okay, that revision was actually dropped. That is why we had a long gap. Right. So this is the eighth time it is going to be revised. Ideally, the base year should be revised every 5 to 10 years. Okay, so that the national account will reflect the most recent data. I hope this concept is clear. Okay, so this is a question for you to try out. Okay, so with reference to GDP estimation, ensure consider the following. Base year revision affects both real GDP and nominal GDP. After base year revision, sectoral weights in the GDP calculation may change. A base year revision may lead to changes in the measured growth rates for previous years. Okay. So, first statement, does it affect nominal GDP? No, it doesn't. Okay, base year does not affect nominal GDP because, nominal GDP is measured on the basis of current market prices. So, this statement is wrong. After a base year, sectoral weights obviously can change because it's going to be in the recent data. Yes. Base year revision may lead to changes in the measured growth of previous years, obviously, because everything is now going to be used. We are going to be using the base year, right? So this is also correct. So when if you know that one is wrong, immediately you can reach option B as the answer. So please study the concept of base year carefully. The idea of base effect is actually different. Base effect simply refers to the year-on-year calculations. Okay, it actually impacts the year-on-year calculations. Like previous year, say something happened and the value of a particular variable skyrocketed. Okay, like supply chain disruptions actually causes vegetable inflation, food inflation to skyrocket, right? And if you look at that and you do a year-on-year comparison, you may think that okay, this year inflation might be less, but that is actually the base effect, right? It's a different concept, but please understand the concept of base year. Please understand the reference, how that works. Please remember the importance of Bishwanath Goldar committee, the base year of different indices and who publishes them. Okay, so thank you. That's all in this session on current affairs.